A critical illness plan today. The time by Sagicor Life is...
It's 7 o'clock right here on the family station Love 101. And at this time, you're now invited to listen to, let me bring that up for you. Just getting the hang of this thing right here. So it's coming up right about now. At this time, you're now invited to listen to the Morning Watch. And the Morning Watch today is sponsored by Home and Things, your construction finishes store. So again, the Morning Watch this morning is sponsored by Home and Things.
Love 101 FM are advised. Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, Foul Fight, and that's whether F-O-W-L or F-O-U-L, Foul Fight, examining the proposed suspension of stamp duties on imported chicken. In the second watch, are we mega dosing on multivitamins? For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on the stamp duties and the chicken price issue? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also whether by post or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program. But before all of that, here's, I quote,
the best thinking has been done in solitude. The worst has been done in turmoil. Thomas Edison.
Yeah. Good morning, Roshin.
Good morning, Dr. Toussaint. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Congrats on your recent appointment and the best wishes going forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you
By
so
the
much.
By the way, Roshin, what's your favorite meat?
Well, it's going to be easy because of the topic. I'm going to say chicken for now. Maybe oxtail. It was a little bit more affordable.
It sounded like chicken out a while ago, man.
Chicken out.
All right, the first watch will be back after this break.
Digicel, the winner's circle for the second year running. This time walking away with the award for Jamaica's fastest mobile network, best mobile coverage and fastest home fiber internet. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Digicel.
Didn't catch that? It's just the truth. Digicel is the fastest LTE and home fiber internet in Jamaica, giving coverage and speeds you can rely on over and over again. Digicel, better together.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
What does it take to be a godly and effective leader? Well, we invite you to join us from January 31 through to February 11 as Bible teacher Woodrow Kroll seeks to answer that question as we study the Old Testament book of Nehemiah. Dr. Kroll draws on Nehemiah's leadership experience and offers a guide for effective leadership for the 21st century. So please plan to join us for our study of the book of Nehemiah with Bible teacher Woodrow Kroll, January 31 through to February 11 on Back to the Bible, weekday afternoons at 12:30, right here on Love 101 FM, the family station.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One. February 1, 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence. Sister Vanessa joins us to share her powerhouse testimony of God's consistent provision. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with author, certified life coach, marriage officer, public theologian, and investment consultant, Reverend Teddy Asiel Jones. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, ranking number 4 in the extensive local radio landscape and number 1 in gospel. Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Just unmute for me, Dr. Toussaint. Go ahead.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, last week, the newly minted Minister of Agriculture reportedly floated the idea of a temporary suspension of import duties on chicken leg quarters in a bid to provide cheaper poultry meat for Jamaicans. What are the pros and the cons, recommendations and concerns associated with such a measure? Well, to help us answer these and other related questions, we have online Mr. Norman Grant, former senator and the past president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, and Dr. Damian King, executive director of Capri and senior lecturer in the Department of Economics at the University of the West Indies. Good morning to you both. Best wishes for 2022.
Good morning, thank you.
That's Dr. King. Mr. Grant, are you on? Is Mr. Grant on? Okay, not hearing him as yet. All right. Dr. King, still with us?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Let me just first throw this question at you. What are your opening views on the reported proposal by the Minister of Agriculture for the temporary suspension of stamp duties on imported chicken leg quarters?
What are my opening views?
Yes, sir.
Well, the duty on imported chicken is significant. It's well over 100%. And as is implied by the minister's announcement, that it allows the local producers of chicken to be able to sell chicken for more than twice, nearly 3 times what consumers could have imported chicken for.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is more than just a consumer problem. It's more than just reducing the living standards of consumers across the island. The more you raise the cost of living on something basic like food, is the higher the cost of labor. It's the more that I have to be paid and every worker has to be paid in order to earn a living wage when they go out to negotiate a salary. So it raises the cost of labor for every other industry. What we have is a situation where one internationally uncompetitive industry, which is chicken, is able to impose that cost on other potentially internationally competitive industries, and we're sort of spreading the uncompetitiveness from one place to the rest of the economy. And every time we protect a domestic industry that's not internationally competitive, that is what we're doing. We're making the entire rest of the economy uncompetitive.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you clearly, Dr. King, you are in support of the proposal?
Well, I just gave an argument. I just gave an argument and pointed out what the cost that we pay is. So people can draw their own conclusions about whether it is something to be done or not.
Mm-hmm.
The issue here is to understand. It is to understand what are the issues and considerations at play. You know, not to take votes on whether, you know, people support it or not.
Well, there are concerns, I think you intimated, in regards to the poultry industry in Jamaica. Would you like to say anything on that, generally speaking? Do you have any concerns about that, generally speaking?
No, I'm not trying to understand the question.
No, there are persons who are saying that beyond this whole matter of the pricing, the monopolies, how the whole poultry industry has developed over the years. Do you have any concern in that regard?
Well, I'm not a specialist on the poultry industry, so I can't speak about anything that is specific to the industry. You know, we have two broiler companies that are sort of competing with each other, and they have their suppliers and a lot of contract farmers. But I don't have any views on the industry in particular. My concern is what are the implications of the policies that are designed for that industry. What are the implications of those policies for the rest of the economy, for the productivity of the country, and for the country's prospects for economic growth?
Yeah. There are those who would argue. Well, before I ask you, is Mr. Grant on as yet?
No, not as yet.
Okay. Right. Yeah, Dr. King, still with you. There are concerns that people raise about the leg quarters, the proposed leg quarters to be imported. There are those who are saying that it will further open the floodgates for inferior or stale poultry meat to be dumped in Jamaica. Your take on that?
Well, if people feel that the imported chicken is inferior and they want inferior chicken, then they will buy it. If they don't want inferior chicken, they won't buy it, and then we won't have a problem. Everybody can make the choice for themselves.
Yeah.
When I go to the supermarket, I take quality into account when I'm making my choices. In some cases, I can't afford the quality that I would like to consume, and so I make the trade-off and get cheaper quality for a lower price. Everybody can make that choice for themselves. So the idea of having a lower quality and cheaper option is not in itself a problem.
Because they are arguing that persons wouldn't know up front that we are actually getting the inferior quality.
But why we think that people are not able to judge quality? They judge quality and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, all the ingredients are labeled on food, so that is something that they can read. And if the taste and texture is inferior, well, then you know that. If the taste and texture are inferior in a way that's imperceptible, well, then that may be a good choice to buy the cheaper product.
What about the long-term impact on the poultry industry, especially in regards to the farmers?
Well, that raises a question. Are we going to weigh the long-term impact on poultry farmers or the long-term impact on the entire economy? I pointed out that the long-term and broader impact on the entire economy is detrimental. The long-term impact on poultry farmers is that it probably is not economical and good business to be in poultry farming.
Not good, not beneficial.
Well, clearly it's not beneficial if you can't sell your product at a competitive price. So it means that they should go into some other kind of farming.
Yeah. And the short-term impact, because persons who would have already invested into this market, this industry, will be affected negatively, it is thought. Well, hold your thoughts.
The short-term impact is that
hold your thoughts there, please.
To be able to consume chicken at almost a third the price of they do now.
Yeah, tell you what, Dr. King, could you just hold your thoughts, please? We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
Sometimes the things that tear us apart are the ones that unite us and bring us closer together. Where there is life, let's keep on dreaming. Where there is love, let's find new meaning. Where there is hope, keep on believing. A message from Sagicor.
Do what? Nobody light it.
What you man say? Do what? No light what?
Nobody light it. You know, sister, we in a dry season. Plus breeze a blow. You are set we up for disaster.
Disaster? What kind of disaster?
Bushfire, Joe. Bushfire. If that the fire they catch and spread, we can lose everything. House, land, car, gone. See a carelessness. Nobody light it.
You know what, true? I feel with duty for protect life and property.
Yes. Me glad you respect the warning.
This message was brought to you by Jamaicans Against Bushfires. Jab, plan, protect, prevent.
Hi, I'm Ruthann, and children, I have a quick word to encourage you. Many of us are heading back to school. It will be very different, and we have been away for so long. It may even feel strange, but let's go with a positive mind and believe. With God, we can do anything. Remember Joseph? He dared to believe God, even when everything around him was not going well. We can do it too. Have a great time in school, focus on your work, and study hard. Children, we got this because God has got us. I'm Ruthann for Love 101 FM. Stay safe.
I believe that we can join our hands and make a difference in Jamaica. I
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we are looking at the proposed suspension of stamp duties on imported chicken. The idea is to reduce price of poultry. And we have online so far Dr. Damian King, Executive Director of Capri, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Economics at the University of the West Indies. Dr. King, before the break, you were telling us about the short-term impact and about persons who are benefiting from the poultry industry, whether they should continue, if not.
Yes, that's what we were talking about.
Yes. Any further thoughts on that? Go ahead. I had interrupted you.
No, I was quite finished with that point.
Oh, okay. All right. What about alternative measures, Dr. King? Apart from the proposed suspension of stamp duties, are there anything else that could have been done to not create this shock in the market?
Well, to achieve which objective, though?
Well, I think the idea being one is to reduce the price of chicken.
Well, the best way to reduce the price of anything is to allow consumers to get it at the best possible price that it's available globally.
Mm-hmm. So
And-
there's
and-
nothing else?
and-
Nothing
and-
else that could have been done? Hello, Dr. King?
But we have a solution. So
I know. I'm just wondering if there are other alternatives that we could explore as a nation.
no, I can't think of any.
Okay. And
I can't think of any that doesn't impose that cost upon other Jamaicans.
Yes. So there is talk about, I think, a grant being given to the poultry industry. Do you know about that?
Where is the financing for the grant going to come from?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question. Where's the financing for the grant going to come from?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to come from the government coffers.
Right. But where does the government fill its coffers from? Taxes.
Yes.
So if they are going to raise taxes for a grant to the poultry industry, then they are going to impose the cost of the poultry industry as a tax on the rest of the economy, on the rest of the labor force, and still have the effect of raising the cost of labor and imposing the cost on every other sector of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And on the standard of living of everybody else in the country. So you have the same problem.
Yeah. I'm just wondering though, this whole matter of the stamp duties, when it was first implemented, when it was first included in how we run the economy, do you have any idea what was the thinking behind it?
Well, the thinking behind it is the thinking behind it right now. That those who want to be invested in that industry have a powerful interest to argue that we somehow have to have the size of poultry industry that we now have, and it is obviously in their interest to argue that. I mean, it's not entirely a surprise that those who have a vested in this interest in an industry are going to argue strongly in favor of the rest of the country supporting that industry.
And to protect the local farmers, more so. Right? You know, isn't that it?
To protect those who are already invested in chicken farming, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, I understand that Mr. Grant is now on. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Good morning to you all.
Yes, don't know what happened.
So I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I just patched in, but I'm here with you. Good morning.
Yeah, right. Well, we also have Dr. Damian King on. Just want to
Hi,
ask.
Dr. King. How are you? Happy New Year to you.
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Grant. Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, just your thoughts very quickly, Mr. Grant, on the proposed suspension of the stamp duties on imported chicken leg quarters.
No, I think my thoughts are well known. I have shared it on a few of the media. I think that the poultry industry is a critical industry. Well, the agricultural sector is critical to the development of the Jamaican economy. When I was president of the JS in 2003, I led the launch of, a campaign called the Grow What We Eat campaign. And then Minister Clark was very supportive to the effort. And there are a number of industry whereby we suggested that support should be given from a policy level, notwithstanding the trade agreements, but there were safeguard measures in those agreements that allow governments to support sectors of the economy that was critical, the productive sector. So the poultry industry was one of those. And it has moved to be self-sufficient. There was a time in our history when, we had to import most of the poultry meat that we need. There was the CET that was introduced, 280% duty was imposed. Those duties were used to all of those duties were not used really to drive development in the industry itself, but it was used as taxes for the government. But it gave the local industries some breathing space to develop itself. Now you have about 150,000 small farmers. There was a time when the poultry industry was structured with about 20% small farmers, 80% large farmers using the tunnel ventilation houses. Now it's 40% small farmers, and a lot of whom really rely on this sector, for their everyday living. So my position as an immediate past president of the JS is that we should not remove, we should not relax, we should not reduce the CET, because I think as we come out of COVID, as we recover from COVID, the poultry industry is going to be one of those sectors that is going to be critical to this recovery process. You have to also bear in mind that the tunnel ventilation houses are very, very expensive, $15-20 million for one, and a number of those farmers have really gone into those industries with a long-term view. So you remove the CET, and you said chicken is going to be more, lower for the consumers. And then on the other hand, now you could really be creating issues with those farmers where they are not able to repay their loans. They come out of business. And the same thing that happened when the introduction of cheap milk powder and its impact on the dairy industry, which we have not recovered after 30 to 40 years. So I think we have learned those lessons. Quite frankly, I'm actually in the production of Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee and the shipping of coffee overseas and logistics. All of those costs have just skyrocketed. The cost of doing business, is very, very high, and that is a global scenario. And so I don't think that it's not only chicken meat that has increased. I mean, everything has gone up. I mean, flour has gone up, everything has gone up. So do you now have a knee-jerk reaction towards these things? And I think that the better option is to see how you can provide more support to the local poultry industry so we can increase production, and over time the increased production could have an impact on price.
Yeah, Dr. King, I don't know if you want to respond to anything that was said a while ago by Mr. Grant.
Well, I think it's interesting to point to the example of imported milk powder and the dairy industry, because to have cheap imported milk powder, the positive effect that has had on nutrition in the lowest income households is actually quite tremendous. And one might argue, as I would, that seems to be a splendid price to pay for not having a dairy industry. I mean, the objective of economic policy and economic activity is material standards of living. It's not to have any particular industry. And what has happened in the dairy industry would also happen with chicken, which is the resources would be redeployed to other activities that create value rather than impose costs.
No, well, interestingly, the driver was a focus on having the item cheaper. And the view was that our dairy industry wasn't doing that. So relatively speaking, if you look at the numbers, the killing of the dairy industry, milk powder has not been considered relatively cheap when you compare it with the price at which the dairy farmers was providing.
No, Mr. Grant, it is considerably cheaper. No. As chicken would be if we were importing it. Considerably cheaper. If it were not cheaper, the dairy industry would have been competitive and would still be in business.
No, well, the point is that you don't have anything to compare it now with, because it has died.
But it's that because it could not compete with the similar amount of protein that could be had much more cheaply to the benefit of the nutritional standards and material standard of living of all the consumers.
I think it is a dangerous trend if we look to eliminate our local industries in support of our competing farmers overseas. I think what we should be trying to do is to see how we can support and build capacity in these local industries to compete on price through economies of scale. And we don't do that when we opt for the easy way out. And I think that is what we're actually doing.
Sorry, go ahead. Don't mean to interrupt.
I think that it is extreme. I think the dairy industry, the poultry industry is one of our winners. Okay? I think that as it relates to the increasing of costs, it is happening straight across the board. So rather,
if it were happening straight across the board, Mr. Grant, then the imported chicken would also be equally expensive.
Tell you what, gentlemen, I'm so sorry.
Even though increases are happening around the world, the fact is that the imported one is still nearly a third cheaper.
I am sorry, gentlemen. I am sorry we have to leave it there.
Let me just make this quick point.
Time is gone. Time is gone now, man. So sorry. Sorry that you joined us late, all right? But thanks, both of you, for joining us this morning. Have a productive day. The Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Yeah, man, sure.
Now with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:30 right here on Love 101 FM, the family station.
The Go Loud Cash Call is live and 50K is on the line. Tune into the Go Loud Cash Call is live and 50K is on the line. Tune into the live shows on Love 101 FM, Tuesday, February 1 and Friday, February 4, 2022 to find out how you can win the cash. Go Loud, simply more radio and podcast. Text 402 to 137 for more information. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Attention listeners, do you want to learn how to be healthy? Then join Complete Healing Gospel Medicon Missionary Training, January 28 to February 27. Learn about natural remedies for diabetes, hypertension, female disorders, kidney diseases, and so much more. WhatsApp us today for more information, 876-238-0288 or 876-781-1197. A blessing awaits you.
Yeah, man, it's fine.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One. February 1, 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence. Sister Vanessa joins us to share her powerhouse testimony of God's consistent provision. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with author, certified life coach, marriage officer, public theologian, and investment consultant, Reverend Teddy Asiel Jones. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, ranking number 4 in the extensive local radio landscape and number 1 in gospel. Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, soft target for cyber gangs. Banks under reporting attacks. A Jamaica hit by ransomware. And also we see illegal taxi driver in high speed at St. Andrew Chase to face multiple charges. Also, animal therapy coming for Bustamante patients. Interesting. NGO hosts successful sterilization clinic in St. Andrew. In the Observer, we see here Lion's Den. Youth parliamentarians say homes no longer havens for children. They call for stiffer assault, domestic violence fines. And then JMMB joins bank fees convo. And finally, we see in the Observer that Japan funds project to improve Jamaica's emergency communication. Those are some of the major stories and headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts on the stamp duties and the chicken price issue? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also whether by text or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Under the Law helps you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. We've been doing it for 50 years. That's right. Join us on Thursdays at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. Compliments of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Educating, advocating, empowering. Under the Law, Thursdays on Love 101 FM.
We can talk for days and weeks about love. What is it about this fruit of the spirit that keeps everyone on their toes, eyes shut and tongues ready? What more can be said about love? Must discussions on love include issues such as lust and communication? Why does love hurt? Why do we seek it out? What happens when we don't know it or do it? Tuesday, February 1 on The Rock. Join host Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guests Errol Bean and Reverend Dr. Michael Friday as they discuss the topic Love Always. That's The Rock, Tuesday, February 1 at 10 a.m. on the Family Station. Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Roshane for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on the stamp duties and the chicken price issue? Roshane.
All right. I believe there was a voice note. I believe this person came on late, but they made a response on WhatsApp.
Good morning, Brother Roshane. Good morning, Dr. Toussaint. I think that, I didn't know anything much about the matter there when the program started. But all my sympathy was towards the producers, not even for myself, for the consumer, that if the stamp duty were removed, then everything would be lost. Right now, I am thinking that it might not be a good thing to remove the stamp duty and allow everything to go freely, even though we as consumers have to sacrifice something when we purchase local chicken meat. Because when I think of the COVID and how, we were locked into different areas in the world, suppose we remove the stamp duty and depend solely on imported chicken meat. And then something worse than COVID comes and anything cannot come in. How would we manage? So I just think of that, okay? Thank you.
All right. So there's also a comment here on Facebook. If it's okay with those who run the industry, well, no problem, as long as consumers benefit. All right. So that's all the comments so far.
All right, thank you, Roshane, and we want to thank those who responded. Good question, by the way, Sister Wainwright Bowen. These are matters we need to consider carefully. All right, thank you. Well, as we now transition into the second watch, last week in an Observer article entitled Stop Megadosing on Vitamin C and D, the following was stated, and I quote, "While there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking daily vitamins and supplements, megadosing might be doing more harm than good." End of quote. But how can vitamins do us harm, and what is this megadosing all about? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have joining us Dr. Winsome Christie, President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Jamaica, and Mr. Rashid Perry, food scientist and lecturer at UTEC. Good morning to you both. Best wishes for 2022.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Toussaint. Good morning, Mr. Perry. Nice to be with you both of you. Nice to be with both of you.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Well, good to have you both once again on our program. You know, the best way perhaps to begin our discussion is to ask how important are vitamins to our health, and why is it that vitamin C and D are regarded as important in building our immunity, especially to COVID-19? Let me throw that at Mr. Perry first.
All right. So vitamins and minerals are important because they play an integral part in a lot of the processes that take place in the body. So, for example, as it relates to, making of immune cells or strengthening the immune system, the growth and repair of muscles and organs, etc., you need your vitamins and minerals. Now, in this time of COVID-19, what we have is persons, taking a lot of these vitamins because they feel as if they take more of them, it, makes things better. I think Dr. Winsome can also allude to this when it comes to taking any items that we feel are good for us or will do well for us. We take more of them so that, we can have that benefit. Now, vitamin C is one of those vitamins which has been shown to have a very, very positive effect on your immune system. All right. It helps to strengthen your immune system. Yes, it helps in the absorption of iron from the diet, which is very, very good, especially for your red blood cells. And it has been shown to, help in the alleviation of a lot of symptoms related to certain illnesses. Vitamin D has been known across the span for helping healthy bones and teeth. Vitamin D is also shown in helping with the production of insulin, which would help to manage the sugars in your blood. So you find that both vitamins themselves have been shown to have a positive effect on health, but it's the overconsumption that we'll have an issue with.
And we're going to say more on that. Dr. Christie, you are muted at the moment. Are you with us? Dr. Christie, can you hear me?
No, that's good.
Can you hear me, Dr. Christie?
He's a class.
We're hearing you, Dr. Christie. Can you hear me? All right, she's having some technical challenges. Let me continue with you then, Mr. Perry. We're talking about megadosing. What really is megadosing? How does one determine that?
All right, so megadosing would be you're taking these vitamins in excess of what is recommended. So say, for example, a vitamin you're supposed to have 100 grams in a day, for example, right? But you're taking 3, 4, 5 times the amount. Now, the reason why the doses have been set in that way is because, again, your body is able to handle that particular dose over a period of time, which is normally daily. Now, when you double and triple the amount, then you overwhelm the body's internal mechanisms because now it has to deal with the excess. All right? Now, on vitamin C and vitamin D, they fall under 2 different categories of vitamins. So vitamin C is referred to as a water-soluble vitamin, meaning if you put it in water, it will dissolve.
Mhm.
And vitamin D is seen as a fat-soluble vitamin. If you put it in fat, it's going to dissolve.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to you taking a lot of vitamin C, what you find is that your kidneys work a lot more because it has to remove the excess that you're taking in at each time. So when it comes to your water soluble vitamins, when you take a lot of them, your kidneys have to work harder to remove the excess.
Mm. Tell you what, Mr. Ferris, so interesting. Could you hold that thought? We're up on a break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Go Loud Cash Call. Here's your chance to be one of 4 winners of 50,000 weekly. Just answer the Go Loud Cash Call with the phrase
Simple More Radio and Podcast.
and the money is yours. Tune into the live shows on Love 101 FM Tuesday, February 1 and Friday, February 4, 2022 to find out how you can win the cash. Who knows? It could be your lucky number. Must be using the Go Loud app and the Digicel customer to qualify. Go Loud, Simply More Radio and Podcast. Text 402 to 137 for more information. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your wealth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Hello.
Hello?
Goodbye.
Goodbye? What are you doing?
I'm saying hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry.
Oh, I'd like to say that too.
Well, with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider, you can secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness ahead of time and benefit from their investment portfolio too.
Wow, so it's hello peace of mind.
And goodbye worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider. For more information, contact 888-367-5433 or talk to one of our representatives. Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we have begun our discussion on the whole matter of megadosing. We're looking at an Observer article last week which simply said, stop megadosing on vitamins C and D. And we have online to discuss this issue Mr. Rashid Perry, food scientist, lecturer in nutrition at UTech, and also Dr. Winsome Christie, president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Jamaica. Mr. Perry, before the break, you were telling us about the whole matter of megadosing. What is that all about? How do we know that we are doing that?
All right. So normally your vitamins and minerals are dosed at a certain amount, meaning that each tablet has a certain amount, and normally it's recommended as to how much you're supposed to take in a day. Now, as it relates to dosing, I think Dr. Winsome would be more able to speak on that. But pretty much, there are recommendations to follow when taking supplements. Now, oftentimes we think that because it's better for you, you take more. Now, most persons don't know that a supplement is made as an add-on to what you're eating, meaning it's not supposed to replace actual food. In my opinion, supplements work best in persons that may have had a slight deficiency or a deficiency of a nutrient before. So let's say, for example, you don't have enough vitamin D or you're vitamin D deficient. You'll find the supplements working perfectly for those persons, right? But if you're getting enough of the the vitamins from your food, and you're adding these supplements on top of that,
right?
Your body now has to deal with this excess. Now it's
Right.
this excess which can cause a lot of problems. Where we're
How do we
seeing,
know? How do we know, Mr. Perry, that
Mhm.
we're getting enough and we don't need the supplements, or we're not getting enough and we need it? How does one determine that?
All right, so pretty much there are two ways that can be determined. One, it can be from a biomedical test where you test for these vitamins in the blood, or we can take a look at the diet. Now, the diet tends to be a primary indication of exactly what we're having. So, for example, if you don't consume a lot of fruits in the diet or a lot of vegetables, for example, because we have a lot of persons who, because of various reasons, they're not able to have vegetables or fruits. Just based on that, then you can say, all right, then you need to top it up a little more, right? But if you are consuming almost all food groups, your vegetables and fruits included, every day, then adding a supplement onto that may not be necessary.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. Dr. Christie, are you with us still?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, right. Happy that you are all right. We're not seeing you, but we are hearing you, okay?
Yes, I'm on the phone line now.
You're on the phone line. Good, right. Your take on that, Dr. Christie, and tell us about, what have you been noticing in regards to the purchase of more vitamin C and D?
Okay, well, first of all, Mr. Perry gave a very detailed explanation of most of the aspects, but just to go over a little here and there, when the mega dosing has to do with when you're taking these nutrients in higher than normal doses that exceed the recommended dietary ratio 10 or more times. So when you bring up those points, you have to talk about certain things like the recommended dietary allowance, the adequate intake, that is the amount of vitamin or mineral you need to keep healthy and stay well nourished. Then you have a term which the FDA is bringing up, the daily value, which tells you how much on the label that you're supposed to be taking daily when you are having a diet of 2,000 calories per day. So sometimes the daily value is the same as the recommended dietary allowance. When mega dosing becomes an issue is when you pass the upper tolerable up intake level. So that simply put, the toxic level. So there's a maximum amount of daily vitamins and minerals that you can safely take without a risk of an overdose or serious effects. Now, some of the recommended dietary allowances or daily values are near to the upper tolerable level or the toxic level. And that's when taking higher doses than recommended becomes a problem. Because when you do that, the vitamin is no longer being taken as a dietary supplement, but it's now being used as a drug. And when you're taking the vitamins as a drug, then you have the pharmacological effects, the clinical toxicities, and the other side effects that Mr. Perry mentioned. So that is how you tend to monitor the megadosing. Now, research is showing that these upper tolerable levels and the recommended daily allowance is shifting. Some of the values are outdated. And so for vitamin C, the upper tolerable level for that intake without getting side effects is 2,000 milligrams daily. You find that the doctors, and that is why, another point, some supplements and some formulas have to be controlled by the pharmacist because the dosing is now becoming more of a drug. And so they have to be monitored for side effects. Now, vitamin C, the upper tolerable level is 2,000 milligrams. So the prescriptions we're seeing is like 1,000 milligrams daily. So it's within the range. It's not over. The vitamin D, the upper tolerable level is now 4,000 international units. And that's another thing. Vitamins come in different ways of expressing the strength. So some are expressed in milligrams, some are in international units. and the international units tend to be higher number. So like vitamin D, the safe level is 4,000 international units. But what they have found is that doses up to 10,000 international units have not shown toxicity in healthy individuals. And of course, at those levels, vitamin D would be being used as a drug, because now vitamin D is being recognized to be more than just a vitamin. It's now recognized as a hormone. It impacts the body. It's now used as an anti-inflammatory agent. And so for this COVID season, vitamin C at 1,000 milligrams, and also the vitamin D at the 5,000 international units or 1,000 international units is used for symptoms of the COVID illness. And they appear to be safe. The studies are showing that there's no real toxicity when they are given for a long time at that level.
But Dr. Christie, I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if it is correct, if it's accurate, that vitamins D over time could result in the hardening of one's arteries.
Well, that can result. However, the studies are not showing that. But what you can do too, as clinicians, the vitamin D, you have a level in the body at which, just like how you would say your potassium level and so on, the level in the body is should be 20 nanogram millimeters to 50 nanograms. So, as Mr. Perry mentioned, these biometric tests can also be done to ensure that you are not exceeding your levels within the body, which would also put you at the toxicity risk for toxicity. And so you clinicians, but remember now, the levels that we're talking about means that the vitamin is being used as a drug. So it's really the clinicians who should be monitoring it, and the doctors and who prescribe it are doing so based on the clinical studies out there and research.
Yeah. So separate and apart from that, Dr. Christie, for the average person who doesn't have the means or the access to go and get all of this biometric test done, whatever it is, what would you recommend in regards to our daily dosage for somebody who has his or her balanced meal? Should he or she still take multivitamins daily?
Well, you can take a multivitamin if you are not drinking enough milk. If you take medicines that interfere with the nutrient absorption, if your calorie intake is low, if you're an athlete, if you're pregnant, these are good reasons to take multivitamin supplements according to the specialists out there. And even as a regular person, there's nothing wrong in taking a multivitamin. If you do need to take the vitamin C at the 1,000 milligram and the vitamin D at those levels, you should also consult with your physician and with your pharmacist. And that's why, as I said, certain supplements and vitamins are kept within the purview of the pharmacist and not being sold anywhere as free sale, because some of the levels of some of the vitamins in the preparations are near the toxic level there, the upper tolerable level. So basically, in our country, the regulatory agencies have ensured that the vitamins and the supplements are kept within the purview of the pharmacist, who help to ensure that the public are not taking things in a way that will damage them.
Okay. Mr. Perry, you have the final word. Any final thoughts on the whole matter? And also, can you just be more specific in terms of the signs, symptoms that you are in trouble or you're near in trouble in regards to side effects?
All right. So, again, I agree with much of what Dr. Winsome brought up. For me, though, as it relates to someone who is eating a healthy, quote unquote, a healthy diet, or eating from all the food groups, I would not recommend taking supplements because, again, the supplements are an add-on to the diet, right?
Not even C and D, Mr. Perry? Not even vitamin C and D?
No, but the thing is, if you're getting it
It's
from the
COVID.
food, if you're getting it from the food, right? You don't need to take more supplements if you're getting it from the food. The issue lies, which Dr. Winsome brought up, are some other parameters. If you're taking a certain medication, or is there some reason why you're not absorbing certain nutrients, then you can have your supplements, right? Or in certain cases where, for example, let's say a pregnant mother or an athlete, you know, you would take some supplements under guidance. And that's something that we must take away. Supplements are taken under guidance. Don't buy supplements and take them because you hear that you're supposed to take them. Because this is where we run into a lot of issues. Because we're taking
Tell you
these
what.
supplements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Perry, we're totally out of time.
Out of time.
Yeah, out of time. We could go another half an hour, I know. But I want to thank you both for joining us, Dr. Christian and Mr. Perry. Have a productive day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information or to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint. Hand you back to Love in the Morning with the new man at the controls, Roshane Douglas.
Thank you, Dr. Toussaint. Thank you, guests. Thanks for making it Love 101 FM, the family station. It's now time for, as a matter of fact, the Morning Watch was sponsored by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore. Make the time 8:01.